You ever wake up to the sound of your whole life turning sideways? Because let me tell you, nothing snaps you out of a half-dream faster than the sound of somebody pounding on your gate at dawn like they're trying to break in with a sledgehammer. That's how my morning started, Boots, half-lace shirt on inside out, thinking maybe a stray cow wandered over from next door, maybe some Amazon driver was lost again, but nah. When I flung that front door open, heart still stuck in my throat, what I saw made me freeze in place like I'd stepped through some wormhole into a universe where common sense went extinct. There they were, 4 of our self-proclaimed HOA guards huddled around an actual campfire at my gate, looking like some bootleg Boy Scout troop, radios, clipboards, and mugs of coffee steaming in the fog. As soon as they spotted me, they popped up in unison, dead serious. The guy in charge shines a flashlight right in my face and goes, "Sir, you're not allowed to leave your property until you apologize to Karen." I'm standing there half asleep, trying to decide if this is a prank or if maybe I'd hit my head harder than I remembered. Nope. These guys were for real. They'd camped out all night at my gate, guarding the neighborhood from what exactly? My lack of apology. The leader puffs up and starts in with, "This is a peacekeeping blockade. We can't move until you acknowledge your wrongful behavior toward Mrs. Karen at the last HOA meeting." And let me tell you, I nearly lost it right there. My wrongful behavior was just showing everybody the security footage of Karen sneaking onto my land with her tape measure, measuring my fence in the dark, like some dollar store spy. That was enough to launch a whole paramilitary HOA operation. Yeah, that happened. I tried telling them to get off my property, but they just doubled down. One guy gets all spooky with his flashlight under his chin. He must think he's auditioning for a horror movie or something, and says, "We have authorization to issue escalating consequences." I said, "Buddy, the only thing escalating here is my patience running out," and started opening the gate. That's when one of them puts his palm on it, dead serious. "Sir, don't force us to take disciplinary action." For a second, everything just stopped. Even the birds. Even the wind. And you could tell these guys really thought they were the last line of defense for civilized society. One dude was still clutching his marshmallow skewer like he was ready to joust. I realized if I kept arguing, my whole day would be shot, so I turned around, headed back inside, and called the sheriff because I wasn't about to negotiate with wannabe mall cops who thought human rights violations started with a missed apology. While I waited, I peeked out the window. These guys were mapping out a plan, drawing invisible diagrams, rotating guard shifts. They even had someone stationed in a lawn chair at the end of the driveway watching the road like he was guarding the gold reserves. Then the patrol light showed up. And here's where it gets good. The real twist. The sheriff didn't walk straight to them. He came to me looking like he wanted to crawl back into bed and pretend this was a nightmare. He whispers, "The HOA called us first. Said you were threatening their peacekeeping team." I'm like, "Threaten? I haven't even had coffee yet." Then he drops the real bomb. Karen filed a complaint at 5 in the morning calling me hostile, aggressive, and possibly dangerous. She wanted extra patrols. The sheriff just shakes his head, already exhausted by HOA politics before sunrise. When he finally confronts the guards, these grown men salute him. You read that right. Salute. The sheriff blinks at them like, "What do you even do with that?" He tells them to pack it up, but the guards refuse, saying Karen was emotionally wounded and needs justice. Meanwhile, neighbors start trickling out onto their porches, coffee mugs in hand, watching like it's Saturday morning cartoons. The sheriff tells me he needs to walk the property line, make sure nobody else has been trespassing. 5 minutes later, I hear him shout from out back. He's pointing to fresh boot prints all over around my barn, up to my workshop window, then back toward the gate. These clowns didn't just camp at my entrance. They'd wandered all over my land like raccoons at a buffet. Now we're talking trespassing, not just HOA drama. But before he can start writing citations, one guard points down the road. "Sir, our reinforcements have arrived." Here comes a parade of HOA golf carts, white as ghosts, leading the charge. Karen at the helm, arms folded, sunglasses on at dawn, a smirk like she's about to announce a royal decree. Karen steps out like she's starring in her own villain origin movie, walks straight up to the sheriff and accuses me of endangering the community, demands I apologize publicly for humiliating her at the last meeting. She's got a whole speech ready, including a public apology session, a fine, and an inspection of my shop for dangerous equipment. For the record, my tractor, her real nemesis, was last seen squashing her flower pot she put in the middle of my drive. By now, a crowd has gathered, filming on their phones, whispering and giggling every time Karen gets more dramatic. She starts tearing into my gravel driveway, my non-compliant mailbox, even the feng shui of my workshop. When she says my mailbox has negative spiritual energy, the whole block loses it. Neighbors howling with laughter, Karen glaring daggers at every one of them. Sheriff tells her to wrap it up and move along, but Karen starts waving a stack of papers, claims her emergency powers allow her to block my gate. Turns out she wrote an amendment herself and dropped it in the suggestion box, never got voted on, but, intent counts. The guards look confused. Even the neighbors are laughing. Finally, Sheriff radios for backup just in case this circus gets out of hand. So Karen shifts tactics, tries to guilt trip everyone about community standards, even as the crowd just gets rowdier. Then she tries to make a dramatic exit, trips over her sandal, grabs the roof of the golf cart, and almost goes down in a heap. Sheriff's trying not to laugh. I'm biting my tongue. I tell her calm and clear I'm done apologizing for things I didn't do. Karen snaps her fingers. One of her guards hands her an envelope. Inside, a printed ticket, mandatory apology session at noon. There's even a photoshopped image of Karen wearing a tiara on a throne. I almost choked, laughing. But she's serious failure to attend means escalated consequences. Sheriff finally has enough, tells her to move it before she ends up with a trespassing charge. She orders her guards to retreat but not surrender. They drive off, but not before Karen yells, "This is not over." And I'm thinking maybe now I'll get some peace. Nope. I find a blinking recorder hidden in my gravel. These clowns planted surveillance gear on my property in the middle of the night. Now, it's not just HOA crazy, it's borderline criminal. I call Marcus my neighbor. He comes over, shaking his head, whistling low. Only desperate people bug their neighbor's gate man. Karen's lost it. We search the property, find 3 more devices, one labeled HOA Security Council. Marcus starts laughing, picturing these goons tripping over their own shoelaces in the dark. But it's not funny anymore. I call the sheriff again, but he's busy, probably wrangling golf carts off the county road. So we go straight to Karen's house. She's outside, holding an emergency HOA meeting, waving papers, talking about Article 47, something she made up on the spot. The moment she sees me, she tells her disciples to remain calm because the perpetrator has arrived. I hold up her surveillance junk. She gasps, clutching her chest like she's starring in a soap opera. Claims they're for a wildlife study, then changes her story to air quality sensors. The crowd's buying none of it, but her followers nod along like hypnotized pigeons. When I point out one is labeled Tactical Perimeter Sensor, she shrugs and says maybe the manufacturer mislabeled it, or maybe the universe is sending you a message. Yeah, that happened. Then she accuses me of stealing HOA property. Crowd starts mumbling. Karen steps close and whispers just loud enough that if the sheriff sides with me, she's got other ways to enforce compliance. Behind her, the garage door lifts, revealing a giant conspiracy wall, string, maps, blurry photos, the works. Marcus and I stare. Even the guards look nervous. Karen calls it a risk assessment, says every leader must gather intelligence. Suddenly, the sheriff's back just as word spreads that the HOAs block the main road cones, more golf carts, a full-on barricade. Karen's smirk returns. She's mobilized her army and the whole neighborhood's trapped in her madness. Sheriff warns her blocking a public road is a crime. Karen insists the road's HOA regulated, not county property. Sheriff mutters something about losing his mind, then radios for backup and heads to the blockade. Karen claps. Literally claps her hands and declares Phase 2 has begun. I ask what that means. She ignores me. Her guards wheel out a covered crate, struggle to drag it into the driveway. Karen whips off the tarp, revealing a portable stage, speakers, a giant banner, public apology event featuring special guest offender. Neighbors start whispering. Marcus shakes his head, says, "This is a cult, man, not an HOA." Karen orders her guards to set up in the park wires, lights a whole festival. Then she tells me calm as a Bond villain that my refusal to apologize means I'm now under community correction protocol, and if I don't comply, she'll trigger phase 3. We head to the park, find chaos. Guards reading instructions upside down, one tangled in extension cords, another plugging a speaker into the sprinkler box. But people are showing up curious, nervous, all bringing chairs, as if it's a real event. Word spreads Karen's putting on the biggest apology in HOA history. That's when 2 neighborhood kids roll up in a golf cart, shouting the sheriff's trapped at the blockade HOA surrounding his patrol truck. Karen sent more guards. People gasp. Marcus whispers, "If Karen tries to detain a cop, we're all screwed." Before we can move, Karen herself storms onto the half-built stage, grabs the mic, and announces, "Phase 3, the neighborhood's under lockdown until the apology event." People go dead quiet. Even her guards look scared. Karen's lost it for good. She says all gates are sealed, no one leaves until the event's done. Parents pull their kids close. One guy who has to get to work shouts. Karen tells him to file an exemption form. People start booing. Karen stares them down. Now I'm angry. I step forward, tell her she has no authority, no legal right to detain anyone. Some neighbors mumble support. Karen brandishes her clipboard, rattling off bylaws. Marcus mutters that half of it's probably trash pickup schedules. Mrs. Delgado, one of the original founders, shouts, "There's no such thing as HOA lockdown power." Karen fires back with more invented history. A kid starts live streaming. Phones buzz everywhere. Karen senses her grip slipping and tries to prove I'm dangerous, flipping through a binder of nonsense photos of me mowing my lawn, my dog barking me, checking my mailbox, all labeled as criminal acts. The crowd starts laughing. Karen slams the binder, but it's over. Her spell's broken. Suddenly someone yells, "The sheriff's broken through the barricade," lights blazing, sirens wailing, crowd parting like the Red Sea. Karen panics. Her guards freeze. Sheriff's out of the truck, hat, crooked dust on his boots, angrier than I've ever seen him. He demands to know why she blocked his patrol truck, why she's locked down the neighborhood. Karen tries her usual spin, calls it a traffic control exercise. Sheriff's not buying it. He tells her if one more golf cart touches his truck, he's towing them all. He points at the public apology banner, looks at me, then at Karen, and just shakes his head like he's staring into the abyss. He tells her flat, "Say one more word that isn't an apology, and I'll arrest you for everything from endangerment to interference with law enforcement." Karen's mouth flaps, but the crowd is done with her. Mrs. Delgado steps up, says the board needs to vote Karen out immediately. Karen loses it, screaming betrayal. Others step forward too, complaints about fine surveillance barricades, even the sheriff's almost arrest. The sheriff announces deputies are removing the barricades now. Anyone interferes, they're arrested. He turns to the crowd. Did anyone ever vote for Karen to have emergency powers? The laughter rolls across the park. Karen tries one last desperate move, claims to have evidence against me, but a gust of wind rips the papers from her hands, sends them flying like confetti. The whole crowd cracks up. The sheriff calls the board to an emergency meeting. Karen stands alone, trembling, promising revenge. As I pass, she hisses, "Phase 4 will fix everything." Yeah, let that chill sink in. The board votes her out. But as we gather in the clubhouse, the lights flicker, go out, a blaring alarm sounds. Outside, Karen's golf cart convoy returns banners waving, "Protect the HOA and restore order." She announces Phase 4, claims the board's vote is illegitimate, forms a temporary emergency council. Sheriff threatens arrest. Her new guards form a human shield. Mr. Thompson, the quietest board member, steps up with the laminated removal vote. It's official. Karen's out. For a moment, everything holds still. Karen's face drains, but she's not surrendering. She's retreating. She flees into the night, but not before planting more chaos. The sheriff and deputies find more surveillance gear, impound locks, even a fresh fine posted to my barn for unauthorized nighttime movement. Karen's not done, she's just gone underground. Later, Mrs. Delgado brings us to the clubhouse, shows us Karen's real phase 4 board maps, list timelines, even forged complaints ready to send to the county. A USB stick filled with edited videos meant to frame me. The sheriff says it's not just HOA drama anymore, it's criminal conspiracy. That night, I can't sleep. Every sound outside makes me jump. And just before dawn, there's a knock, a wooden box, a note. You cannot erase what has already begun. Inside a key, storage unit, 14. The sheriff leads us there, inside boxes full of files on every neighbor, a bulletin board labeled Phase 5. My picture in the center circled in red. The reckoning begins soon. We leave shaken, realizing Karen's game was never just about rules or power, it was about total control. And the scariest thing, while everyone else thought the storm had passed, we knew better. Out there somewhere, Karen was planning her next move, and Phase 5 had already begun. So let me ask you, what would you do if your HOA president went full villain mode? Ever had a neighbor like Karen? Share your thoughts, your wildest HOA stories, your take on justice, right and wrong down below. Because trust me, in this neighborhood, the story is just getting started.